Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creative Edge channel. And I am Muskan Mulchandani. And so, with us today is Dr. Arnab Banerjee, who has been an integral part of NIFT Institute, that is the National Institute of Fashion Technology. And he is now currently a lecturer at the London College of Fashion, which is under the University of UAL. So please let's welcome Dr. Arnab Banerjee. Hello, doctor.
Hi, Muskan. Such a pleasure meeting you and talking to you.
It's a great pleasure to know you as well, sir. And before we move ahead, tell us something about yourself first. Although I do have a brief introduction of you, but I would like to hear it from you yourself.
Oh, interesting. So, yeah, if you think of the official side, yes, there's a, I was initially I had done my MBA from India, and then I went on to do my PhD and a master's in psychology. I've worked initially, for a bank, State Bank of India. I was a probationary officer, and then, and subsequently I worked for a very popular research company, which is one of the largest in the world, called the Nielsen Company. And then I moved into NIFT in 2012. So that is the official part of it. But if you ask me unofficially, I'm somebody who, perhaps likes to have fun while whatever we do. I mean, I look to have fun in that. And I like to, kind of pick up new things wherever I can. So it could be through a podcast like this, it could be through a YouTube, wherever I get the opportunity. It's a big part of what I do. It's learning, because that really helps me to, then subsequently disseminate that knowledge and learn from my students as well. So yeah, that's me.
Lovely to hear. Well, the shift to London has been recent, I believe. And
Yes, it's not been too long. Yes.
yeah, so what is the difference that you've been feeling in the country and out of the country so far?
At a professional front.
Both ways, both ways.
Okay. So, okay, let me start off with the personal part. Of course, right now my family isn't here, so that is one big thing for me. I'm looking to have them here soon, maybe in a few months. Besides that, you can over here, because of certain setup and structure, we tend to plan things well ahead of, time. So that is one big difference that I see in the way we operate over here. So planning is a big part of what we do. I'm not just talking in terms of professionally. I'm talking in personal life also. You have to plan everything because you are on your own basically. Uh, Professionally, yes. So the Indian education system and the UK education system has certain differences. For example, what I have observed over here is there is we don't teach as much content wise. Like, the volume of the content is the width, the spread of the content is lesser over here, but it's perhaps more focused, and whatever few modules that we will cover. So, for example, in a 6 month semester at NIFT, when I was with the PG program, we would take up around 7 to 10 units. Units mean subjects. Over here, under one, in one, say, block, we call it block, which is perhaps of 15 weeks or so, sometimes a little longer, depending on UG or PG. We'll teach only 3 units. So, yes, number of what we are teaching over here is lesser. Within each unit, of course, again the content differs. For example, in India we used to use more lecture mode. Here we are lecture and group discussions, case studies. Here we have, the ratio is like this: you have one lecture and then at least 1 hour of lecture followed by 2 hours of seminar for every person. In that seminar we do GDs and other stuff, and we have a lot of different people coming in from different facets. But I think we'll talk about that as the interview goes on. Yeah.
Great, that's nice. So there is a difference that you have been finding where the professional training goes.
Yes, in the way, the mode of delivery, I guess I mean, there's a lot of learning softwares which is being used, which kind of you know eases up from some of the administrative aspects that we have to take care. So perhaps there's a lot of, for example, timetabling and everything is being done with the use of a lot of technology. So it helps us free up a lot of our time and focus perhaps a little more on academics. So that way.
Is that enhancing the creativity in a way, or what? I mean,
No, for as an academician, what I can certainly say is that we need to know the right balance. So some of us are more hands-on, some of us are more, dependent on technology. Depends on the person, but I will certainly say that if you figured out the right balance, how much technology is to be used, then certainly you can use the additional time that you have got for more academics, more research, and stuff like that. So yeah, certainly I will. My vote will be for use of more learning technology softwares. Yes.
all right. And what prompted this transition, if I may know? It is a little personal question, but
No, I have had the opportunity to work in India for in the academia of India for 10 years. I perhaps wanted to explore,
yes,
understand. We know that academics in the more developed nations, US, UK, has a different feel to it, and I guess I wanted to be a part of that and understand. Perhaps someday, if at all I come back, I'll be able to disseminate the things that I've learned over here. And in fact, even now as we speak, I'm always in touch with my ex students back in India, and I try to stay in touch and help them in whatever way I can. So yeah, that certainly is. So otherwise, personal at a personal level, I thought because over here, so basically, because London is, you can say, it's the center of
right,
center of fashion marketing. The kind of research opportunities that you get here in terms of fashion and fashion marketing, and I'm specifically associated with consumer behavior. I guess the opportunities. So I get to personally speak to people who are at the very top level, who are editors of certain journals, like Bloomsbury, a fashion case study editor is my colleague. And then you've got opportunities to interact with, I mean, with uh, the latest technology again. Like of course, technology wise, India is not any, it's not like that they're too far away. But the thing is, here the opportunity to introduce new concepts is greater, simply because it's at the center and you get a greater heterogeneity in academics. So in the same room, I'll probably be bumping into a neuroscientist. So he's my colleague. I'll be bumping into a designer. So that really helps. Yeah.
nice. Wow. All right. Okay. One more thing that would, I mean, that prompted me to, I mean, since you came up with this, we know NIFT as a place that is known for its design programs. What differences have you noticed, or are there any points of highlight that you feel that there are between the NIFT and the London School of Fashion, London College of Fashion?
You mean the UG, the design programs?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
First of
that's what
all,
we know of NIFT, right?
right.
So,
That's another thing that I would like to probably put up in this forum. That yeah, I mean we do associate NIFT with design programs, but NIFT has technology programs. It has got management program. And in fact, I was a part of the management program over there.
okay,
So I was actually leading the course for the Masters of Fashion program, which is a PG program.
right.
Over the period of 10 years of my stay with NIFT, 6 years I was leading that program, and I can certainly tell you that that is as good as it as you can expect. Although a management, what we basically do in management and marketing, and I think I'll be more comfortable speaking about management and marketing because I was associated with that program, is talk about the techniques which is unique to fashion when it comes to marketing. So merchandising, for example, pricing is one aspect which is unique for fashion. It does not operate the way you will price, say, a computer or maybe some other products. So I guess a lot has to be learned in that domain, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to convert those products into profits, you need that management program, and that is where I was associated with NIFT. So we call it the Masters of Fashion Management. Yeah.
Right. All right. Great. It's nice to know that a NIFT that is known for designing, only designing, I mean, majorly, also has these various areas that can keep students, getting them good jobs, being them placed across the globe, I believe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. In fact, funny you should mention that. Over here, I just found out. So we have built a WhatsApp group. There are 12 of my NIFT Shillong students. I was actually
Oh,
with NIFT Shillong, and there are 12 of them over here. One person has started his own brand. Quite a few of them are working in merchandising and buying. And I do know that there are students who are interested in pursuing PG programs. So a lot of the UG students, after finishing their UG in NIFT, do join. In fact, do join LCF. They do join other colleges around. In fact, one of the students that I just learned the other day has joined the Royal College of Music in performance
oh,
arts
wow.
and performance sciences. So I think the
That's lovely to hear.
opportunities are huge and very heterogeneous. And best part about these kind of domains, especially in Europe, is uh, they allow for you to explore. So we don't freeze you that you have to be from that particular background. You
Right,
can, you may have done your UG in certain programs, and then you are
right.
welcome here to do your PG in certain other programs because they do realize that heterogeneity and diversity really helps in upgrading the course and the student.
Right,
Right.
right. Well, that brings me to another part of the question that I would like to ask about.
Right.
There is this thought of what you call that campus hierarchy that a lot of people, a lot of students have in their head. Does that actually exist, or does that actually affect how a student moves ahead in life? I mean, uh,
Um,
in terms of
yes
work
and no.
wise,
Yes and no. So first let me tell you why I will say no, because see I was from NIFT Shillong, and
right?
um, the topics and the curriculum I used to deliver is the exact same curriculum that is being delivered in Delhi and Mumbai and Bangalore. Right.
Okay,
So there is no difference between the program across campuses.
okay.
Also, the admission process is centralized, so
Mhm.
there will be students from all walks of life. We have equal diversity in Shillong as we do in Bhubaneswar, as we do in Delhi, and as we do in Mumbai. So as far as peer learning is concerned, also there is no compromise. Perhaps the difference happens in the perception of students because what happens is if you get the top rank, perhaps you'll want to go to Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore.
Right.
Uh, Also, if you are getting not the best favorable ranks, you may want to go to those the units that is ranked lower.
Okay.
Now, it's a perceptual difference. If tomorrow we turn it around, like the top students come to Shillong and it will not. I mean, it's basically the same course. So there will be no difference in where they walk into. Placements are centralized. Most importantly, all the students go to all the placements of all the campuses. So if Shillong students will be going to Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi for their placements, and they get an equal opportunity to get placed, just like any other person. So that is the no. The reason why I think there is no difference across campuses. But the difference happens in the perception, the way students look at it, and sometimes because the students look at it that way, perhaps getting the organizations, the companies may also look at them somewhat like that. So uh, I mean, yes, that is the reason why I think sometimes the difference pops up, keeps propping up. But I mean, if you look at in depth, there is basically no difference across campuses. In fact, Nif Shillong has a beautiful campus. Anybody
Yeah.
listening to this podcast, you should check out the how beautiful it is.
I recently had the privilege, I should say, to check out the campus, and I was amazed by the beauty of the place itself.
Yes.
Uh, one more quick question, since we were on the skill set wala questions.
Mhm.
I would like to know, is there any specific skill set that a student would require to get into a NIFT campus?
Um, so
Because
we have two
like you said
sets of
that,
programs.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
like
no
you
problem.
said that when they are in Europe, they it is not the dependency of what UG program you are for, does not, I mean, it does not hamper your admit into a PG program or something like that. That I don't know. I think that students who are here, they do have this constraint at the back of their heads that there would be this kind of a skill set that's needed. Maybe because I do not possess this, I'm not able to get into it. Is there anything like that that specifically would be required to, you know, get into a NIFT campus?
Yeah, specifically speaking about NIFT, you have UG programs and PG programs. So
Right.
the entrance process itself kind of, uh, so you have got some creative tests for the UG students who have to probably, make stuff out of certain materials that is given to them. In addition to probably some aptitude tests, but when it comes to the PG programs, it is typically the aptitude test. I would want you to, just because now I have left NIFT and I have not really been associated too much with the admission and the student recruitment process. So what I do know is in management, you don't need to go through creative tests. You are more focused into your aptitude, and I think your GD and the personal interview matters. So if you're skill set wise, if you're good at communication, if you're good at looking at certain numbers, if your general knowledge about fashion is reasonable, then it does help. So any person preparing, I guess, can think of think looking at start thinking and looking in those directions. You have got any management program, you require some aptitude exams and stuff like that because it
That's true.
tests the basic skill set.
Aptitude tests. Right.
Yeah, the aptitude tests, and you've got your verbal reasoning and stuff like that. um, Apart from that, it's the communication skills that matters because you'll be sitting through interviews. At the end of the day, when you do join NIFT, you'll have to make presentations, you'll have to talk to industry, you'll have to conduct events, and you'll have to understand what is being taught in the class. So you will need a base level of communication skills for that. So yeah, that is about the
Got it.
skill
That
set,
that
especially
holds
for
true
PG.
of the PG program. For the
Specifically for
UG,
PG. For UG, you need creative. I mean, we have certain, with the students are selected based on certain, how I don't remember the name of the test, but they are given some materials and they have to make something creative out of it. So you need to,
right.
be able to do that. So yeah, creativity is a big part of the UG program over there. Yes.
Great. Um, what is this uh, one thing that students can focus on when it comes to choosing an Indian campus or an international campus if they have the opportunity? Can you help us with, I mean, throw some light on that?
I think from a academician's perspective, I really think that learning is the reason that people come over here.
Okay.
Often, the choices are made based on number of organizations visiting that, for placements. I think one of the biggest factors is diversity uh,
Right.
in the class structure. Because if you have a highly diverse class, see at this level, there's not much we can teach the students. uh, Educational learning often is self-guided, and what happens is you do a lot of projects with your classmates. So if you come into a campus which has high diversity, which both NIFT offers at a national level and of course LCF offers at a global level. So I walk into a class, if the class size is 60, I will have representations from 30 different countries over there. If walk into a class of say 350, I guess every single country will be not, I mean, almost 75% of the countries of the world will be represented in that. So diversity is a big factor. I
True.
think,
True.
I mean, that is the number one factor, if you ask me. Once that is a, once you've been able to understand and harness the power of diversity, then I guess the next thing the students can look at is, the course curriculum, the companies coming in for placements, and of course Europe operates slightly differently. We don't have the placements like the campus placements that uh, are sometimes practiced by some American universities or Indian universities. Over here, the placements often happen through your industry project while you're still a student. You work with the industry, and there are structures built into the universities which help students with placements and referencing. Suppose if you have been if you're under my course, if I refer, then that kind of helps. So all of that, and of course the one thing that my teacher used to say is that never ever consider a management education system or an education system as a placement agency. If you learn, if you're good enough, you are going to get placed. No worries about that.
Great to hear.
Yeah,
Words of wisdom that have been passed along from your teacher, and probably we are passing along to students who are listening to you.
indeed.
All
I
right.
used to tell this to my students all the time.
All right. That's nice.
Yeah.
One more question that just popped into my head, that a lot of these students have been preparing for NIFT, government institutions like NIFT, NID, and this, as compared to the private institutions. How much of a comparison would you think is there between the two of them?
Um, Although I have worked only for government organizations, so I'm not probably in a very good position to comment on the private organizations. What I can say is, teachers or academicians stay longer in government organizations in India. Okay, so suppose you will meet people retiring out of them.
Government.
Maybe in private organizations, there is a little
The
more
switch is
turnaround. So
quicker.
yeah, so that brings in a good thing. I mean, there is pros and cons. So perhaps the process in government institution, you get very experienced teachers who have been recruited in a very rigorous way across across the country. At the same time, once you get in, sometimes what happens is because you are into the system, there's a bit of institutionalization that may happen. But in private sectors, because people keep coming, moving, and going out and coming in, they perhaps sometimes bring in fresh ideas. So you can, I mean, when you get fresh ideas, you'll probably not get the experience. When you get the experience, you probably be a little. So it's kind of like machete. It's a two-sided, it's a two-edged sword. Otherwise, yeah, private institutions are likely to be more expensive. So that is one thing that students should keep in mind. Um, if there are scholarships, the students should consider what kind of scholarships are available. So I know
Correct.
that NIFT used to have certain means come merit scholarship. I think we used to call it Sarthak, where the student would be given a good deal when it comes to maybe 25% or 50% of their fees will be waived. Um, so those kind of factors are also there, which reduces the fees further for government organizations. And of course, we have got the backing of of a very strong system in the when you're a part of the government universities, you have a very strong system. Now, my comments may sound very biased because I have myself been a student of government universities and I have worked in a government university. In fact, the one that I'm working also is a government university in UK. It's under the,
Correct.
I mean, basically it's kind of like a under the UK. It's a public university. So certainly, I'm not the right person to comment on the strengths of the other structures, but that's what I can tell about the difference between the two.
I'm sure that this is also something that they would be happy to hear. All those people, all those students who are aspiring to get into these organizations, they will at least put in an extra step, extra little bit of an extra effort to get into these organizations.
Indeed, yeah.
Moving on to another subject of your interest, that is AI.
Okay.
How do you think that AI has impacted the fashion industry, and what kind of role do you think it would play in the fashion industry?
Okay, so I am basically a you can say a psychologist. Okay, so my PhD and my master's focused on human judgment and decision making. One might wonder, well, how is that associated with AI? So AI is getting things done easier. Basically, it's that it's getting things done faster, more efficiently, but it cannot operate on its own, at least not at this point. Although we have got generative AI which can create it, but even if you work those generative AI, you will realize that um, you still need a human behind it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So what AI is basically doing is previously what was being done by human assessments or judgments which are highly biased, and that is actually my area of specialization, cognitive biases. So we are very likely to make biased decisions, and these biases come naturally to us. It comes because of who we are, the stereotypes that we are endowed with, the things that we have learned as we grew up, and it can reflect in our decisions. I don't remember who, but there was a researcher who is a very highly coveted researcher who mentioned that while AI, the decisions made by AI are not perfect, uh, but on an average, human decisions are much worse when it comes to when it comes to making those decisions. So what needs to work is the human intelligence and the artificial intelligence need to work together. So AI can help more in certain aspects, and certain aspects the usage is still limited. For example, if you're making a decision which is more based on uh, numbers and data, and the data is readily available, then AI can be used more clearly, like more easily. Um, but before I go to that, I should clarify. So first thing is, AI can be used for such decisions where data is available easily. Another challenge with AI is getting the industry to accept that such data can be used. If you look at India fashion industry, still we don't use much AI in pricing decisions. There are certain companies in India who are using, let's say Stylumia is one of the companies that comes to mind, who are trying to speak to companies about how pricing decisions can be based out of. You can use algorithms to base pricing decisions, but majority of the companies are still using judgments, and therefore we see a lot of reverse supply chain happening. There's a lot of discounts going on because maybe the first of course it varies from company to company, but at first go at what is called the actual price, the sell through is much lesser than what the company will expect. You will see discounts going around the year, 50% discount, 70% discount. That's happening because the products are not selling out at their actual real price.
Right.
So somehow, we are not either we are overproducing, or we are producing the wrong product, or we are producing the right product but pricing it incorrectly. So AI can play a big role in getting this sorted, and this is very very important because not only does the company benefit out of such accurate judgments, but also the environment benefits, because when you're not producing things that is not being sold, ultimately it is a very big cost that the environment has to pay. We know that this industry is the second most polluting industry in the world, the fashion industry.
Right.
So a big talk is around that area, how AI can help sustainability, and how it can reduce overproduction, and perhaps even incorrect production. So yes, AI is going to, first thing is getting the industry to understand where AI can be used. Another thing is, the second aspect will be uh, coming up with new algorithms that can help you make decisions or better decisions. For example, the one I just mentioned, pricing, is one area that AI hasn't been used in fashion. Now, that is a new domain. What kind of merchandise is to be produced? AI can help by a technique called image analytics and even NLP, and natural language programming processing. So what happens is, when you're doing trend spotting or when you're doing fashion forecasting, um, we do by our human judgment comes into play. We are looking at what is selling, what is there in the high street of Europe, and then we tend to produce those products, assuming that fashion will then percolate, trickle down to or trickle across to other countries. But that may not really be as accurate as if you get AI to predict what kind of products are going to sell in which market at what time. So that is the second third aspect. Third aspect, of course, is the behavioral aspect. That is, you know, you cannot make you cannot train artificial intelligence to give good predictions unless there is a person, a human, who can feed the right kind of data into it. If you're not telling what variables are to be used in making the predictions, the AI may not work as well. Although you have got different brackets, we call them, unsupervised learning and supervised learning algorithms. We have different aspects, but we do need a human face to tell the computer this is what works, this is what worked last time, this is what is likely to work, and this is what is not likely to work. And the AI can and then improve the decision that the human probably initially made. So there are three aspects where AI is growing. We talk of one of the things that often comes up these days while talking of AI is the application of metaverse. That is a part of technology that is coming up, and I think it's going to come up. It's still going to take some time because people are still not comfortable using the metaverse the way I guess it should be. I mean, perhaps the technology has to. If you ask around 100 people, even from the Gen Z, as to how many of them have experienced fashion metaverse, probably one out of 100 will say that, yeah, I have actually experienced it. In games and gamification, there's a lot of application, but yet it's in fashion, it's still to be, it's not up to the level
An
yet.
unexplored arena yet.
Yes, unexplored area. Yeah.
No, because we did have a couple of these parents that came up with these questions about their children's future, as in would these, how this AI, there are these apps, this new kind of AI designing tools called Mid Journey and things like that, Chat GPT and all these, which we are very comfortable using in our
Hmm.
day-to-day life, and how that would that hamper the creativity of the individual in general, if it would affect the job perspective of that individual. I mean, tomorrow if I have a tool like that at hand, I would rather go all overboard with using those tools, and rather than employing a person who, like you said, has a more chance of creating a problem for me as a human being that way.
No, that is a very pertinent question. I mean, and this is a usual tendency of humans. When there's some change coming, we are very apprehensive of how that is going to impact the job prospect and so on. And this has been there for, like, if you look back when assembly line came in, people's jobs were threatened.
Right.
I mean, when automobiles came in, I guess horses must have felt the same way, that we are losing our job.
Yes.
But what happens is, thank God we are human. I mean, and we know that, how to adapt and how to bring in. So what essentially technological improvements have done over the history is, it has freed up human minds, and we've always moved on from doing something that was repetitive to something more creative. There's a lot of research happening in this domain, and it seems that, in the long run, yes, there will be new areas that perhaps we were never talking about that will emerge, and job skill set it'll not disappear, but it'll change. What we were looking for previously will not be what we are going to look 20 years into the future. Generative AI, if someone uses ChatGPT and kind of tries to develop, it works in certain places. It does not work as well in certain other places. Perhaps in future we can see an improvement in the algorithm, and it will work better even in those places. But none of it will actually work unless there is a there is a saying that, nothing can be. I mean, if all technology is being produced by the human mind cannot be replaced by technology, because the technology has come out of the human mind. We are incapable of outperforming our own brains, which is the most sophisticated machine. So, if we just were to believe in that philosophy, all we can say is AI is always going to be, at best, be able to come close to replicating the human brain without really being able to replicate it, at least certain domains of it, like the creative domain. So, I guess the nature of job is going to change. It is going to become more creative. Perhaps when you are making music, or when you are creating an art piece, those are certain things that is going to be challenged. That in the end, I mean, of right now, the repetitive kind of jobs are going to be replaced. So yeah, parents can be told that, if you're focusing more on the children's creative development as they're going through school, that will be the biggest advantage. Do not force them into in memorizing stuff, because human beings will be nowhere near as competitive in memory based tasks as AI. What we will be competitive at is creative based tasks, doing things that has not existed in the past. Imagination is what we need to make sure our children grow up with, yes, rather than knowledge.
This is to quell the worry of all those parents who have been thinking about, the AI technology uh, outgrowing their children. One more important thing before we end, that I would like to know from you. I know that your research and your work has been into consumer behavior. So could you discuss in brief how the psychology behind human preferences uh, has shaped the fashion industry?
Um, psychology behind human preferences. Actually, what I can tell you is that human preferences itself is something that is very, very, um, it changes shape like water.
Right.
Something that we prefer today is probably not going to be preferred tomorrow. What shapes it is a lot of factors. What we are experiencing right now, what mood I am in, what culture I am from, who is my friend and what is he buying or she buying. So human preferences itself is something that needs to be studied from a bunch of multitude of variables, and these variables can come from inside. It can also come from the external world. External world will incorporate the marketing gimmicks that companies often do. They play around with the 4 Ps or 7 Ps. They will play around with what their product is, where they're placing their product, how they're pricing it, and and so on. So um, uh, and then how they're promoting their product, what they tell you about the product. So if you look at all the luxury brand, once upon a time, most of the luxury brand used to serve the royal families of whichever country they're from, and then they use this narrative to build it around, it's a luxury product. So now, if you own our product, you are a part of royalty, or you're buying a part of royalty, so you'll feel good about yourself. So
Right.
this is how those external factors play. Now, on the other side is the other internal factors. Like, so when somebody says that you'll be a part of the royal setup, to some it may sound very, very attractive. To some others, it may not be as much, depending on a bunch of internal concepts: self-image, self-awareness, self-esteem, and so on and so forth. Um, and so consumer behavior in my research delves into those domains, and I'm specifically, because you use the word preference, I'm very, very interested in how human beings make judgments. Let me give you a quick example. We go into a coffee shop, and we ask for, there is two coffee options in front of us, small and large, and we sometimes, majority of the times, you go for the small coffee, sometimes you go for the large coffee. Now, the company organizations tend to profit more out of selling large coffees. So they want you to buy large coffee rather than small coffee, because there is the marginal cost of that additional coffee is much lesser than the price they charge you. How do I do that? One of the things that you can do is, of course, give discounts on the large coffee, but that will cut into your profits. You can also take out the option of the small coffee, but that will reduce consumer satisfaction. uh, a company can also introduce a third cup called the extra large. And what the extra large does is, it will make people want to go for the middle option, the large
Larger.
coffee.
Hmm.
So while the extra large does not sell, it diverts, or it makes you choose the large option more.
Right.
So this is this is human thinking. We don't like to take too many chances, especially when the options are, like, not majorly affecting our lives. So there's a lot of things that we do. These come from our biases. This particular is called, this technique is called a compromise effect, something very similar to what is called a decoy effect. So yeah, we need to understand how we can use these mechanisms. Now, the example I gave you is not a very healthy one, because I'm making you consume more caffeine, but I can use the same mechanism to make you consume more healthy products. Like, and by
Right.
healthy, I mean something that is good for the environment, something that is good for your body, at the same time, without taking, without being too paternalistic that this is what you should do, you shouldn't do. So Richard Thaler specifically mentions that we can make people choose what is good without, being too paternalistic. So I guess that is the domain that I want to venture into, and I want to introduce and speak about how neuroscience can help us make these kind of decisions. So that is my area of research, and how we can understand human preferences. Hope that makes some sense.
Yes, it does. It definitely does. I'm sure that a lot of students who would be listening to this after this would be aspiring to come running there.
It'll be a pleasure. Interestingly, in fashion, I am not too familiar if these kind of aspects are being discussed in any other these schools. So I came here specifically to introduce this course, where we are using concepts of behavioral economics and nudging into fashion. So that is one of the biggest reasons why I'm here in England.
Lovely, lovely. All right. What keeps you inspired in throughout all this I mean, that you need to push yourself to go that extra mile, take that extra step, do a little bit more, and yet be connected with the earth. How, I mean, what takes you there? What does it take to get you there?
One of the best things about being teacher is that continuous cycle of energy you get from your students. So when I, look at it really keeps you going when you see that certain things that you're covering or you're talking about is helping somewhere down the line. They call you back and tell the class that you had taken on that day, I used this and this is the kind of results I'm getting, and it was really, it really, that is one big source of energy, success of your students. And when you see that smile on their faces, and when you see that you are being a part of the success story, that I think is unparalleled. Of course, a family that gives you a sense of purpose as to why you want to do whatever it is that you want to do. And for everybody, I'll say one final thing is that your job should not be a compulsion. It should be a pleasure. Ask yourself two simple questions. On Friday evenings, are your emotional states any different from Monday mornings? If the answer is yes, if you feel low on a Monday morning compared to a Friday evening, perhaps you can reconsider your job choices. Second thing is, ask yourself, would you want your child to do the exact same thing that you're doing? If the answer to that question is yes, then I think you are in the right set of jobs. So yeah, that is my message to all the students who are probably going to become, and everybody for that matter.
Yeah, that was so nice. I mean, with this message, I mean, I am inspired listening to listening to you talk.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
God bless you always. And with this message, I believe we'll end this thing here. And lots of best wishes from our end. And
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, Muskan.
hope to
Yes,
see you soon in person.
absolutely, we'll do that.
God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.